under darkness unto the judgment of the great day. The book of Enoch states that there were in all 200 who descended in the days of Jared on the summit of Mount Hermon. And they called it Mount Hermon because they had sworn and bound themselves by mutual imprecations upon it. Mount Hermon was in ancient Sidon, modern Lebanon. The genealogy laid out in the book of Genesis states that the time of Jared was 460 years to 1422 years after the creation of Adam. Also, Homer, the Greek poet, in his Iliad refers to Tartarus as being as far below Hades as the earth is below heaven. Is Tartarus the earth, the bottomless pit, or the material world? The Sumerians claimed that the Anunnaki are their creator gods. The Anunnaki were a superior race that descended from heaven to earth. Around 10,900 BC, we began the age of Leo. At this time, demonstrated by the same ice core map, we see a tremendous rising of temperature and melting of the polar ice. This occurred very quickly, possibly over only a few hundred years total. Because of these massive cataclysms and geophysical changes, there was a huge population decline, resulting in the reemergence and the reinstitution of the fertility cults and goddess worship. Sea levels were now higher than they have been in 100,000 years. This creates a new beginning for the survivors of the flood. This is a new earth, so to speak. These cataclysms traumatized humanity, leading to a new type of consciousness. Also, the extraterrestrial intelligence coexisting on Earth with mankind began to appear as they are, without anthropomorphizing themselves. In Alan and Delaire's book, Cataclysm, Compelling Evidence of a Cosmic Catastrophe in 9500 BC, they provide a great and compelling argument that the Earth did undergo tremendous geophysical changes around 9000 BC. One evidence they demonstrate are fully frozen, preserved woolly mammoths found in Siberia. It's the best and most complete mammoth carcass, baby or adult, ever found, said Daniel Fisher, curator of paleontology at the University of Missouri Museum of Paleontology. What's interesting is that these animals were so well preserved from a cataclysm around 9,000 to 10,000 years ago that the dogs on the expedition team of the scientists began to eat the meat when the animals were uncovered. In other words, these animals were frozen over almost instantly, with undigested food in their stomachs and unchewed food in their mouths. Other archaeological sites have also been found, showing animals dying under similar conditions. Allen and Delaire speculate that a comet may have entered into the solar system, causing this devastation. Also, they provide a thorough analysis showing a high correlation of many ancient cultures and the flood story. We read in the book of Genesis that Noah was the survivor of this flood. And Noah was a survivor, as it says, because he was a just man and perfect in his generations. In other words, Noah's bloodline was free from the alien interbreeding that occurred on Mount Hermon. Modern geneticists also say that a genetic bottleneck occurred around 10,000 BC, greatly reducing the human population. So after this cataclysm, who was left? The original aliens? The original Adamic race? The offspring? The hybrids? What we do know is that regardless of who was left, the surviving remnants of the alien super race emerged in Sumeria. As all was finally lost in the cataclysm, Atlantis and Lemuria sunk, all the alien technology was destroyed, the sky was oriented differently after the pole shift, the populations were mixed up, and all the order on the earth was lost. So if the extraterrestrials came between 460 and 1422 years after Adam, as it says in Genesis, and the flood was 1650 years after Adam, then these extraterrestrials would have landed on Mount Hermon around the time of Jared, 460 to 1422 years after that, which was around 14,500 to 13,500 years ago. Which coincidentally is the exact time the modern scientists say that the Arctic ice sheets were melting. In the Judeo-Christian tradition, the survivors of the flood was the family of Noah. And Noah had 3 sons, Ham, Shem, and Japheth. The sons of Ham were Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan. Cush became the father of Nimrod, who constructed the first city. Canaan became the father of Sidon. The people of Sidon were those who interbred with the extraterrestrials after they had descended to Mount Hermon. The Sidonians, or the Canaanites, worshipped Ishtar, or Isis, represented by the dog star, Sothis, or Sirius, in Canis Major. In fact, the word Canaan comes from the Greek word kune, or the Latin canine, which means dog. Another significant motif is that of Europa. Europa is a Greek word meaning wide-eyed. Europa was the daughter of the king of the Sidonians. Europa was kidnapped by Zeus after Zeus changed into a bull and brought her to the continent known today as Europe. This is significant because Europa is Isis, or Ishtar, or Ashtarte, the goddess of light, who is Lucifer, the light bearer. Hence the term wide-eyed, or illuminated, or all-seeing. In the ancient world, the serpent was the symbol for the illuminated one. In 1855 AD, the sarcophagus of King Eshmunazar II was discovered. From a Phoenician inscription on its lid, it appears that he was the king of the Sidonians, probably in the 5th century BC, and that his mother was a priestess of Ashtarte, the goddess of the Sidonians. The ancient Egyptians called Sirius, which is Isis's stellar counterpart, Sothis. Her symbol was a 5-pointed star. This is evidenced in the 4,000-year-old papyri, the Book of the Dead. Interestingly, the god Set, who is the archetypical adversary or Satan figure, is, in hieroglyphics, the canine, or dog, which again is Ishtar, the dog star, Canis Major. Again, also in Egyptian, we have the same cognate of Suit, which is the word for light, and the god Set. As in English and Latin, we have light and lux, representing that god of light, or adversarial god.